Welcome back to the Unwritten Rule presented by FanDuel. It is Saturday, October 25th. It is about 6:30 p.m. Missouri just lost to Vanderbilt 17 to 10. Kenny and I are here. Peyton will be on Monday's show when we do some of the PFF stuff, which will probably be more of a post-mortem for this game. But Kenny and I are going to try and unpack some stuff instantly right after the game just ended here. Kenny, a game that I feel like can be described as one of missed opportunities. Missouri goes 2 trips inside the Vanderbilt red zone, comes away with no points. In fact, they lost something pretty valuable. Their quarterback, who was put in an air cast and carted off the field. They actually brought him out a wheelchair, Paul Pierce style, which I just felt like more of a dagger through the heart to watch that. Robert Meyer doinks an extra point, or not extra point, a field goal that would have tied the game. At 6, Missouri literally gives a ball away on a botched handoff between Matt Zollers and Jamal Roberts. Vanderbilt responds to the previous missed field goal with an 80-yard touchdown run, and Missouri loses despite winning the time of possession. Despite, spoiler alert for the winners and losers I'm going to give to you, Kenny, a really good performance for Matt Zollers, especially given the circumstance. I thought he was awesome, to be honest, save for, maybe making a couple freshman decisions there with the game on the line at the end. But yeah, would you agree you're in that assessment? A one of missed opportunities here. Missouri, they kept showing the graphic what their playoff percentage chance was if they lost this. I think it's like 16% now. So another really frustrating one, but unlike Auburn, this one ends in a road defeat for Mizzou, Kenny.
Yeah, it's on top of like the missed opportunities. It's a game of just frustration. I mean, this is just a lot of sports and athletics and entertainment that comes out of this. Is a lot of luck too at the same time. And you already lost your backup quarterback who's in a quarterback battle in week 1. You lose the guy who's been kind of up and down these last couple of weeks, but still your starting quarterback and the most experienced passer in that room with an injury that looked really bad just from what we saw. If you could put an air cast on a cart and then move to a wheelchair, I mean, it's whatever's going through your mind is not positive. And that when you see that, to bring in a true freshman quarterback, and I was bringing it up, just looking up at Matt's last time he played a full game of just football in general was September 13th, 2024 of his senior year when he suffered that leg injury. Pretty gruesome one that ended his high school career, his senior year at Spring Ford. So you just look at that and it's like, man, like the one guy who, had a terrible leg injury, really derailed a fun senior year for him, just kind of finishing out high school, takes over for 2 guys that suffered leg injuries. I mean, that, kind of goes into that and the sense of, is this guy ready? I think one of the best things that, you saw from Matt in this contest was, hey, I mean, the kid's got moxie. I think that's what I took from it, on top of the frustrations and missed opportunities. You saw him chirping, at some Vanderbilt players that were getting close to him. You saw the throws. You saw him try to sling things, to step up in the pocket, throw the ball away. Like you said, there's going to still be freshman decisions. The kid hasn't played a full football game since September 2024, and it was at the high school ranks. So, I think you come away with some positives there. But at the same time, we came into this game, Jack, I said it, this might have been the cleanest sheet you've seen for the availability report all year since week 1, and you lose Brett Norfleet.
You jinxed it.
Yeah, you lose Brett Norfleet for part of the second half, and I think you saw great performance from Jude James, who stepped up, the redshirt freshman. We've heard a lot about at the start of the year, but at the same time, it's just the stacking of just like frustrations and missed opportunities, and then just the unluckiness that comes with the sport as well, especially just on the injury side.
Yeah, I'm fine to rip through the winners I wrote because you just nailed 2 of them on the offense. Jude James, he had 3 catches. One of them was for that touchdown from Zollers. And yeah, I think, when you lose an outlet guy like Brett Norfleet, who we've seen time and time again be that for Pribula when he does those little design rollouts and just dump it to him, it didn't even really occur to me. I kind of didn't clock that he had lost that main outlet guy and kind of found it in Jude James, which I think is a win for Jude James as much as it is for Matt Zollers, who's second on this team in receiving behind, frankly, a guy who I also put in the winners for the offense, Kenny, Kevin Coleman Jr., who finished with 7 catches for 109 yards. Yeah, he came up short on the Hail Mary. Whatever. I think the game was lost long before that. It seems like you agree with that. That is a bummer. It felt just mean. Just call it incomplete. Why do you have to say he caught it? I guess it's good for Kevin Coleman's stats, but you have to say he caught it and came up a yard short.
It runs in Missouri, right? Was that
Yeah.
the Titans Rams Super Bowl? You always think of when the inch short just
Well, that was the Missouri
extending at
guys
the goal
who
line.
stopped him.
Yeah, it was the total opposite. Yeah, the two Tennessee Missouri teams. Just realized that too.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so but despite that though, I thought he was a good target for Pribula. A lot of good things happened for this offense when he's able to get involved early, and I thought he was. He averaged 15 yards a catch. He was their main and ended up being kind of their only big target receiving wise because Brett Norfleet got hurt. But yeah, I think Zollers can still be a winner from this. And yeah, I'll ask you this. What was your assessment? Because I was hesitant because I think of just the expectations that we now have for a guy like Ahmad Hardy. Missouri, 41 carries, 170 yards as a team. Hardy had 20 for 97. He averaged just under 5 yards a carry. They averaged 4.1 as a team. They outgained, I believe, Vanderbilt 170 to 136 on the road. Where was your assessment of the run game when you compare it to Alabama and Auburn? Do you think it got much better, or was it kind of the same, or did they leave some on the table there for you?
This is where I kind of want to talk about maybe looking back on our predictions that we thought this game would be a little bit more high scoring, but in reality, it was, defensive front versus offensive front in both sides. It was like, how are these teams going to stop the run? And I thought both sides showed, very good glimpses of jamming holes and not allowing opportunities. Ahmad Hardy's only longest rush of this game was 17 yards. I think it looks improved, just on the stat sheet. I still don't think you've really reached, where Ahmad Hardy was a couple weeks ago before the heart of SEC play. But you are taking, the right step forward, but still at the same time. I mean, you had the fumble, like you mentioned earlier, between Zollers and Roberts on that handoff. And I just think altogether, if you really got that run game going a little bit more, maybe that would have opened up more passing windows for Beau Pribula when he was still in this game and healthy.
Yeah, I think you're right. I sort of sit on the fence a little bit with it. Again, I think it has to. It goes a lot down to what you said, where this is a good Vanderbilt team. They can sell out and stop the run. And then on the reverse side of that, to stay in a little bit of positive, because I want to talk about kind of my big point with this game where Missouri lost it, to go back to the missed opportunity stuff. But to stay on the positive note for a little bit, I put Josiah Trotter again in the winners. He had 9 tackles. He led the team. There were some other decent players on defense. Nick Rodriguez made a couple good plays. He had half a sack. I think he had coverage on one Pavia long ball. Damon Wilson had half a sack. They sacked him twice. Sterling Webb, my guy Sterling Webb. I continue to have a investment on Sterling Webb Island. He had a sack. They hold Vanderbilt defensively 10 of 19, 129 yards, 1 interception for Pavia. But yet, I think everyone's brain will probably go to, you missed that field goal. They come off and rip that 80-yard touchdown immediately. Missouri also won the time of possession, which is something that felt critical to this game. So again, it's little pieces of things that we talked about that Missouri needed to do to win this game, but it just wasn't enough. And you give up that one huge explosive through the ground. But I don't think Pavia, looked all that scary. But he did enough, and he's a good quarterback to win them the game. Where would you assess the defense? I don't know if you have any other winners, or maybe it's a all around loser. I don't know. I kind of threw my hands up pretty much after Beau Pribula got hurt.
Yeah, I got a good buddy who's a Vanderbilt fan, and I had another just older Missouri graduate as well that I've worked with at other places, and they reached out and they brought up the same game in 2015 that it was feeling like this 17-13 finish. And it was just going to kind of swing the same way in Vanderbilt's favor. That's exactly what happened. I mean, it was just one of those like games that I think we looked a little bit too much at it. Like, oh my gosh, there's so many offensive weapons, but the defenses were just, the biggest parts of this, it's a different Vanderbilt defense than maybe when you see that logo, you're like, okay, teams are going to run all over this team. No, I mean, this defense was very experienced at the same time. A lot of seniors plugging in a lot of those spots, a lot of gritty guys, just like how Mizzou has. And I was texting you and Peyton. I thought Darius Smith had a pretty good role early on in this game. I didn't really notice it too much in the second half. With Missouri really kind of trying to eat up a lot of that time of possession too after the first quarter. But I thought it was interesting how they kind of lined him up a little bit more as a middle linebacker, either that was on stunts or kind of as a spy. And, he had good routes, to Pavia, trying to keep him contained. And I thought they did a good job of that at the same time for a guy who's run all over teams this year. Of course, this, includes sacks and going down in the backfield, but only 8 attempts for 20 yards. And I think that's, a good thing that played into that as well. He did scramble for a first down on one of those third down plays. But I think that was a good, showing from the defense. And it's just a continued thing you've seen since 2022. I mean, it's the death row defense, no matter who the defensive coordinator is, a lot of these assistants and what goes into this planning, very good blitz, very good contains. I think it was just all around a good defensive performance. But I mean, are you going to take a lot of positives from that when you lose this game, when it was very momentum shifting for the rest of your season?
Yeah, I think you can certainly scrutinize the one play touchdown, of course, and then there was the one Vanderbilt drive, for the second touchdown. That was the only time I felt, when you talked about kind of how that linebacking core was going to contend with those tight ends. That was the only time I really felt Mizzou lost that battle, when Vanderbilt sped them up. It was the one that they started on the Mizzou 44 with 7:02 left, I think, in the fourth, and they went all the way down. Pavia had two 15-yard completions, a 10-yard completion, and he had a 10-yard completion. He had 15-yard incompletion, but a couple of quick rushes in there, and that was the only drive I really felt that Mizzou kind of got sped up. And there he had the one throw to Stowers that was big, and Stowers made a good play on that. So again, it was a game we thought would come down to a game of inches, and you had to do some of the little things right. And certainly when you're giving up 80-yard touchdowns, that's not enough. And then, it leads to a drive like that where, you don't have enough wiggle room to afford a Vanderbilt drive, and they were going to get one eventually like that. And they did. Flip, any other positives from this game or things you want to share before we got to talk about the red zone stuff, I think.
I thought maybe the positive recognition of Donovan Olubade was interesting. I thought that was brought up on the broadcast a lot, just talking about how Olubade needed to be on the field more. Only had that 11-yard reception. We got targeted 4 times. I think it's interesting that there's a lot more recognition from the national side of people seeing him as one of the better contested ball catchers among freshmen in college football. And I mean, he hasn't even played that much, but he's definitely seen an uptick over these past couple of weeks. And if Matt Zollers is your quarterback moving forward, I mean, you've seen him, feel a lot of safety in some of these younger guys, and he knows Donovan really well. He targeted Jude James a bunch, got his second career touchdown. I mean, both of his touchdowns now have been to Jude James. I found that interesting. I said that was a little bit of the foreshadowing of the future. But I guess that's one positive coming out of it, is that, people are starting to notice more of Donovan Olubade.
Yeah, I almost thought as soon as they said that he wasn't going to be involved in like any capacity in this game, and that ended up kind of being what happened. Was, I guess, a little surprised he wasn't on the Hail Mary, but I'm not going to over nitpick that. I guess, they still completed the pass, so it almost still got accomplished. You know what? I will throw just a little bit of love, and maybe I want to see what the PFF numbers say. I once again didn't think this secondary was too bad. They had the one PI call that, frankly, I didn't think the ball from Pavia was catchable, so I didn't really think that should have been called. Otherwise, no penalties. Again, they didn't get dashed deep over the top. I think it was, I want to say it was Hall. I don't want to necessarily get it wrong, but one of the DBs, it was Burks. Burks made a bad read on the outside run that led to the 80-yard touchdown. He's way too far on the inside, and that kind of gave him the crease. So that was tough. But I didn't think overall they were too bad. And again, Missouri, didn't get necessarily gashed through the air for days, and we weren't necessarily expecting that with Vanderbilt. But once again, I didn't feel that the threat of the pass was overly there. I thought the secondary played a fine game. Who didn't play a fine game, Kenny? Or do you have anything on that?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, it was some positives. I know there was the one play on the right side of the field in the second half that, or the end of the first half, I think you just could not. I mean, it was just a great play. Like, I think we've talked about that this year. Sometimes there's some of these passes where it just happens. Or Trey Richardson, with a great toe tap. I think it was 5 minutes left in the second quarter. I found the
Yeah,
play.
that was perfect coverage. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't
Yeah,
know.
there's nothing more that you can kind of expect there. I think that's Toriano Pride that's on that play. I'm gonna watch it
Yeah,
again, but
and he had a couple good plays. I wrote him down in
yeah,
the
he
beginning,
was
especially Pride.
for someone who's had his own hiccups since he came over from Clemson. I think this was one of his better performances. So I am intrigued to see if PFF agrees with that too. The pass interference as well on Stephen Hall. That was one of those things the broadcast even talked about. He was just on his hip the entire time, and then once there was a little bit of separation, he pulled him
Yeah.
back in, and that's just really what got him there right at the end of the play. So I think there definitely was, when you're not talking about the secondary anymore, and maybe some of these issues with coverage or tackling or anything of that sort. I think it is definitely a step in the right direction for a defense that's, really held strong this entire season.
Who did not have a good game was Kirby Moore. This is the main, I think, other talking point. It surrounds the Pribula injury from a bad standpoint for Missouri. I'll read you some plays, Kenny. We're gonna relive these memories that we just experienced watching this game. Missouri got to the Vanderbilt 3-yard line after that interception by Damon Wilson, which was also one. Sure glad they called that a pick on the field and a pick in that he was down because that looked a little sus when he felt whatever. But Missouri gets to the Vanderbilt 3. They then rush Ahmad Hardy to the for a 1-yard gain. They then on 3rd and 2 call a timeout. Then Beau Pribula tries to throw it to Donovan Alubade, and then they run it for 1 yard to the Vanderbilt 1, gets stopped on 4th and 2. Beau Pribula is hurt. And then the other one, Matt Zollers leading the drive. Jamal Roberts from the Vandy 15, no gain. Matt Zollers tries to throw to Marquise Johnson, no gain. Jamal Roberts rush up the middle for 4 yards, and they are forced to settle for 3 when Robert Meyer misses the kick. The first one in particular, the first sequence with Pribula, I thought the play calling was baffling and predictable. I did not think that was the right sequence to do things against the Vanderbilt defense. I don't know why you're trying to throw on 3rd down to then try and run on 4th. The fake pitch stuff, it doesn't work as well with Pribula as it does with Brady Cook. And it got him injured. So, I think Kirby Moore has a lot to take for that blame wise, but he was a loser of this game for me. I mean, it's just, again, missed opportunities, left way too much on the table there in those red zone situations.
Peyton brought it up too, just with Drinkwitz's post-game comments last weekend after the Auburn game, called out, play calling a little bit. The offense just really stalled in certain points, and I think once you get into the red zone, it feels like it's college football 26. They're just getting stuffed left and right, and this offense that had a lot of fun technique and art to it the last couple of years, where a lot of people were starting to be worried that Kirby Moore was going to get pulled away and poached by another school. Even Arkansas was rumored at the beginning of the year before Drinkwitz shut that down. It feels like that's all lost, and I don't necessarily know. I mean, you're not going to knock on Brady Cook, but some of these other quarterbacks that have come, after him, there was probably higher expectations for Beau Pribula that he would probably lead this offense a little bit better in the aspect of, he can run it probably a little bit stronger than Brady Cook with designed runs and not necessarily just scrambling. And you just never saw that. And it doesn't really look like Beau might be coming back this season, but he does have an MRI to look at his knee scheduled for tomorrow, or his ankle, scheduled tomorrow to see if it's dislocated, but he didn't break any bones. But I mean, at this point, you're week 9, you have a bye week, and then you have 4 SEC games to close out the year. And I just don't think anything will be cleaned up on the offense. I think you're more preparing for a guy who's going to be taking over a quarterback for the years to come.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just a really frustrating sequence of play calls. And this is a Missouri team that has not had problems in kind of goal line situations and felt like it just really didn't know what to call or what to do. It didn't feel like it knew They knew what the right kind of calls were, and Vanderbilt was all over it. I mean, we were even kind of saying, and then the calls they ended up making felt really predictable. And, we were even saying, I was watching it saying what we thought it was going to be right before Beau ran it. It said, this is going to be either they're going to try the fake pitch thing, or they're going to do his little play action, the boot where he rolls out and he tries to find Norfleet. They were all over that before too. It became, and I think you're right. I think part of it is down to, I wonder how much they really trust with Pribula right now, given his inexperience, and they don't know what other wrinkles to throw, where they really figured that out with Cook. But yeah, I don't know. Passing, I just had a thought, like, I wonder if Kevin Coleman Jr. is involved in the red zone enough. There's been some outside zone stuff I really liked with him. Beau also still can't throw a screen. There was another one he threw really high to Marquise Johnson, and then Zollers came in and threw it right to Jamal Roberts' chest, which I was like, all right, this guy can complete a screen pass. But yeah, I was really frustrated by that. I thought it cost Missouri the game. I threw Robert Meyer in the losers. I try to give him some grace, but you can't doink a kick there. It just, you got to make it eventually. Which is already telling people, hey, we have to get inside the 20 to even trust this guy. It's like at a certain point, you gotta step up and make a kick. I mean, they got you as close as I think they picked up 2 4th downs on that drive to even set that up. So
it's another situation where this guy wasn't supposed to play at all this season. I mean, Robert Meyer maybe would have played late into the Central Arkansas game if Blake had never gotten hurt, and just got his feet wet. And 18-year-old kid without much experience. And I thought it was interesting too. The broadcast just kept calling him a walk on. Most specialists are. Like, I mean, that's not like the biggest deal in the world. Yes, the guy that had the scholarship that came in to Missouri with a scholarship, and Blake Craig was out for the season. They're not going to have like a bunch of scholarship players. I mean, do you know like what this specialist group has kind of had to dealt with the last couple of years? I just found that interesting. I know you're speaking to an audience that's not just people who follow Missouri, but I did find that just interesting. But that just also falls into the frustration of injuries this year. With the specialist room getting more depleted with the changing of roster limits. I mean, you're not having as much experience. I mean, you had to bring in a guy from the JUCO ranks to even be depth at this spot and try to spark any competition. And it doesn't seem like we're going to see Ryder Goodwin right now, but it just falls more into those frustrations of things that are pretty much out of your control at this point.
So the question, I floated this to you and Peyton during the game with Beau, and to try to address and it seems like he's going to get an MR. They're going to figure this out. I mean, you've seen some midseason transfers before. I even look at like the NFL ranks with like Joe Flacco and the Bengals. I mean, do you call a senior on a JUCO team up to just say, hey, come be even our backup quarterback? And I'm not trying to take anything away from Matt Zollers. I thought he was damn good. I think it's important to caveat it with, Vanderbilt did not probably prepare for him at all. And I'm sure was a little thrown off by a guy who they have no tape on, because no one has any tape on him. He hasn't played, but I still think he made some big boy plays. But, you're talking, I mean, is Tommy Locke the guy if Matt Zollers gets hurt right now? I mean, I wonder if there's a question there where you just say to someone, look, Iowa Wesleyan QB, come, at least sit at our bench or back Zollers up or start for him. I don't know. Maybe that's a silly hypothetical, but it feels like you might have to do something just from a pure numbers standpoint if something, heaven forbid, happened to Zollers.
Yeah, what sparked that conversation too was I was confused why they didn't get a quarterback in the spring transfer portal just as another scholarship guy. You lose Drew Pine to the portal. Of course, it made the most sense for Drew, so he could go to a school like Bowling Green and start and play. I mean, Aiden Glover's still out there, from what I can tell. I don't think he landed with a JUCO or anyone else. And
there you go.
But at the same time, I think you have no other scholarship quarterbacks on the team, and I think that's where the worries are moving forward with Matt coming back. This is his first full year after suffering a pretty brutal leg injury of his own in his senior year of high school. I know he's a year removed from it now, but I mean, there's still got to be some worries about, heck, we're down to the last guy as a true freshman. Yes, he's the chosen one of a lot of the Missouri fan base. He was a 4 or 5 star recruit, depending on the network, and accomplished a lot at the high school level, but I wouldn't necessarily say he was ready for this opportunity. And I think he's still showing it, like that he has a lot of those tools to play at this level and be ready to play. And I think, they probably would have wanted a couple more a year to let him season at it, but now he's really gonna have to step into this role. And I wouldn't be surprised if they can try to pull someone off the street just to have another a body in the room, because you are down to Tommy Locke and Brett Brown, and those
Right.
guys have been your scout team, walk on guys that have been around for a long time. Heck, they brought Brett Brown back in after Sam Horn got hurt. We've seen it already this year. Um, but I think that's where the worries are is, behind Matt, there's really no experience. I guess there's experience of being in the system, but not from being on the field.
No, I think you're right. I think surely you've got to do something, just from a numbers standpoint. And you've now lost Sam Horn and Beau Pribula. I mean, if you think you're going to go the rest of the season without your quarterback getting hurt, I think that'd be a silly thing to think, given what has now happened to these two guys. And yeah, obviously the most important thing is, you hope that Beau can just make the quickest recovery possible, and that they do the best thing for him. Whether that's him being able to come back, we'll just have to see. I don't want to speculate on that. I'm not a doctor. We don't seem to know. Missouri doesn't even necessarily know yet what or how bad his injury is. So we'll see. Again, Matt Zollers, I thought, made some plays, but yeah, this is certainly, I gave Peyton after the Auburn game, kind of the panic, or maybe it was Alabama. I gave maybe both of you the panic meter for Mizzou. I think it said 16%, despite how many times they showed the graphic. I don't remember the exact percentage of them to make the playoff with a loss, but that feels very far out of reach now. As close as this game was, as good as this Vanderbilt team is, I don't want to take anything away from them, but this is going to be tough. Also, I'm just going to call him out. I put Langdon Kitchen in the losers too. That roughing the passer call was really dumb at the end of that game. That's just something you can't do. Shout out the offensive line for getting 2 tripping penalties. The second one on Connor Tollison, I didn't agree with, but I just, you think they're going to be holding, and this offensive line finds a way to still get penalties without them being even the normal penalties. It's just, it's beyond me, which is
the first one from Dominic Judice, that negated a pretty big play from Beau as well. He was, I think, a yard short of the end zone on that one. And I think even Beau kind of led up too, because he didn't really want to take a hit. Kind of just went extended right to the 1 yard line. The second one with Connor Tollison, you have to call it. That is the rule. He just kind of got pushed on his back, and there was a couple times in this game where he kind of just fell backwards, and it looked like at some points maybe Vanderbilt jumped early, but just got a little bit overmatched in that aspect. Even got banged up too in the second half, and had to come out for a play for Tristan Wilson.
yeah.
Overall, the Langdon Kitchen one too. That was one that really caught my eye, Jack. And I wonder if he even saw the ball come out, because where he was kind of up with the offensive tackle, I couldn't even tell if he could see it, and he just put his arm out to try to block the pass and went straight to the face mask, which you're going to get dinged for every day. But another just unfortunate, just split second, you can't let it happen.
Yeah, I think in the situation, you just, whether you know where the ball is or not, you just have to know the pull up. Like, I think obviously Missouri was trying to get a takeaway, but I think to an extent you need to know the other thing I cannot do here is commit a penalty, and that was tough. I'll do panic meters with you and Peyton on Sunday. I kind of want to hear his takes, and I'm sure we missed some things that we'll add. But anything you took from this game that we didn't touch on?
Just one last thing. Last year when Brady Cook got hurt, and I think this is likely going to be more severe, just with where Beau is, just based on Drinklett's post game comments of saying, we don't really have a timetable, but it could be a little while. And it wasn't something they said when Brady got hurt. And we were talking about, hey, get Aiden Glover in the game, punt this season, get ready for next year if this kid's going to be the answer. Now you're actually going to probably be in a situation where you have to just kind of center around this offense around a quarterback who's really trying to establish himself as a true freshman, burned his red shirt. So now you're kind of all in on Matt moving forward. And it was kind of like our idea was just 1 year late. We were 1 year early.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see how Mizzou responds. We'll see if we'll be introducing a new quarterback on this show sometime in the next week. Kenny, I don't know if you want to guess. I didn't remember what the ESPN or what the ESPN percentage put it at with their method, but FanDuel, the odds have made their shift on Missouri's postseason hopes. Their odds to make the college football playoff quarterfinals now plus 1,600. The SEC championship game, which that felt pretty far even at the beginning, dropped all the way down to 22,500. I actually watched the line change right in front of my eyes. Hey, Missouri beat Kansas State in basketball. You can get it right now plus 2,200 to win the SEC in that. So there you go. Some futures. Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm sure there was stuff we missed. There's going to be more stuff that I think comes out with the PFF of this game. But this is a really frustrating one. Missouri left a lot on the table. We're in position to win a game. Literally came up inches short of tying a game against a top 10 team with a backup true freshman quarterback. So yeah, this stings. There is no ifs, ands, and buts about it. A frustrating one yet again for the third straight week for Missouri. They are on bye, but we're going to talk a ton more about this game on Monday. But Kenny and I just wanted to hop on, give our thoughts, and recap a little bit as Missouri falls 17-10 at Vandy. Thank you, Kenny. I'm going to go stomach the night games, watch Wisconsin lose to Oregon by 65 points, and try and put this out of my brain for the next, 10 hours until we talk about this again on Sunday. So once again, Vanderbilt beats Missouri 17-10. Put your takeaways in the comments. Anything we missed, we'll read those and address them on Sunday, because I'm sure there's other stuff that people are thinking about after this game. So we will send it off there. This has been the Unwritten Rule. We will see you with the three of us on Monday.